So this video is going to be a little bit different than your normal political video because I'm going to be talking about consciousness and politics and why spiritual people more than ever need to get involved in the political process like now in the timeline now because it's actually very important. Um, and yeah, well, so one of the reasons that I actually used to be a very apathetic non-voter is on top of the fact that I thought the system was rigged and the next president was already picked. So what's the point of getting involved in this? Um, it was also because I thought of politics is very low vibrational, just full of a lot of hatred, just people I would even see in my family and friends, like normally nice, gregarious people, as soon as we talk about politics, like they turn into like different people. And um, I just didn't. I never liked the low, harsh, dense energy around politics, so I just avoided it. Um, and come to realize, as I slowly, like in my work in food, and learning about the factory farm system and getting involved with the GMO labeling campaign, not just in California, but in other states, right, to get GMO labeling as a law. Started to open my eyes about things, and I started to realize, things that were happening in our lives that where you can't avoid the political process. You have to get involved because it has so much influence on what happens in our daily lives. I mean, one of the favorite memes that I've seen around like Twitter and Facebook is about people who say, like, I just don't want to get involved in politics. And the point was, well, your landlord's involved in politics, your employer is, your health insurance company, the drug companies, like all these factors that influence your daily life, they're all involved in politics and they're spending gobs of money. So the system works for them and not you. So if you don't like what's happening, you have to get involved in the political process. And I think that's the main reason when I discovered Bernie Sanders in 2015, like the video I saw, I mean, he was talking about how the system is rigged, and the reporter was trying to bait him into like, well, why don't you, attack Hillary Clinton like all the other, like regular politicians do in races. And he said, I'm not going to do that. I'm interested in talking about the issues that are important. Like, the system is rigged. Healthcare is a human right, like college, and let's talk about climate change, all of that stuff. And it was eye-opening to me because here's a politician, right, of all people, talking about, issues that impact like our lives on a daily basis. But more importantly, I mean, what I saw was this human being like standing in his truth, like the conviction. And I was just like, who is this guy? Like, this is not a politician. And I did more research on him. And I mean, so I got to see Bernie Sanders as, a spiritually driven person. Okay. So that brings me up when I want to talk about this. When I say spiritual, I'm not talking about religion, because religion is a whole other thing, and people get caught up in their dogmas and their beliefs and their system, and their this, right? What I'm talking about specifically are those of you who are like me. Like I am actually was born and raised Catholic, and then left the church. And so I practice, I like what the Dalai Lama says. My religion is kindness, okay? I do my best to operate from my higher self. And so this is what I mean when I say spiritual, right? The people who are working and making an effort to operate more from your higher self and not your lower self or your ego, right? And that's another reason I admire Bernie Sanders. He's a great example of someone who, like, where inner strength and true self have transcended the ego. Like, Bernie is not about, his ego does not run him at all. It's all about his truth and his purpose. Like, he's driven by that and is transcended by that. And a lot of us are working on that. So this really, again, is like the video for people, again, who are into like vibration and energy, meditation, light workers, all of you who are like here, and that part of your purpose is to help make the better world. Okay. So that's why I'm here right now. And if you're watching this video, your higher self has called you to listen to this, because right now, this is not a video I would normally do. This is something, like my spiritual side is something that I actually don't bring out very often, because like I work in a very right brain world, and politics also now is very, you know, right brain. And so I have my own things internally where I'm kind of wrestling with in growing and involving myself, right? And that involves the spiritual side. But one of the main reasons I decided that, you know, I created the Bern Identity was to help bring more consciousness into political narrative. Which is another reason why I'm really glad that Marianne Williamson is in this race too, because she's a light worker and she operates at a higher consciousness, and she's talking about the soul of our country and healing the soul of our country. And getting us to think more again as a collective consciousness, right? This togetherness that we really are. And again, the part where the ego, our pain body, all of that gets involved, which again drags down the energy, the vibration, right? If we look at the earth and wanting to ascend and wanting the new earth to emerge, this is why spiritual people now more than ever have to get involved, because we literally have no time, okay? Many of you, if you've been listening to our scientists on climate change, okay, and bigger than that, the pending collapse of our entire ecological system. So we actually have a bigger problem than climate change. And climate change is an existential threat, but really the bigger issue that we have happening on the planet right now is the collapse of our ecological system, right? Our water, our land, animals, you know, the ability for us to grow food, to have oxygen, clean water, like all these resources, right? All of that is getting impacted, basically because as a result of modern capitalism, right? We're using all these pesticides, we're cutting down the rainforests, animal agriculture is impacting climate change more than all of transportation, on top of a whole host of other issues like enormous land use. Pollution is out of control, like plastics. I mean, we have a huge problem with plastics. Here in the United States, China now has decided that they're not going to be the world's garbage can anymore, so they're not, you know, taking garbage from the West anymore, okay? And a lot of people don't know that. Like, we literally send our garbage to other countries, and now they're like, you know, y'all need to deal with your own garbage. We're not. So, you know, Mother Gaia needs all of us, all hands on deck right now, because if you listen to our scientists, we have under 12 years before irreparable damage from climate starts ramping. It's going to start right there. And which again, in the 2020 election leaves us, like, the new president and Congress, like 10 years to deal with this. And like, this is a big, huge problem. And I know a lot of us just like, well, it's just easier kind of stay, you know, focus on my own world, which again is important. I'm not downplaying that, but we're at a time now where we've got to get all hands on deck. And here really is the biggest issue. I mean, that actually got me more involved in this too, and kind of like, you know, woke me up on another level, is that we have all the technology, the money, and the means to stop climate change and stop the collapse of our ecosystems. Like right now, we could. If all of humanity decided, oh my God, like, you know, like a comet is about to come hit the planet, we've got to act right now. We could do that. We could, you know, we could restructure our entire economic, ecological, political systems and get on board and fix this problem right now. The only reason we're not is because of the current consciousness that is ruling our political system right now, and a lot of our social systems. So this is the point, again, for those of you who, you know, believe, you know, feel like, okay, I'm a light worker, my purpose here is to help humanity. Well, where we meet a lot of people right now is helping expand the consciousness so we can get more people demanding change and electing government officials so we can make, we can make change happen. I mean, what's happening in Europe right now is a great example of what needs to happen here in the United States. A 16-year-old girl in Sweden decided she had enough. And now every Friday, kids in school go on a climate strike. And it's grown to like the tens of thousands. In the UK, Extinction Rebellion, a group there, they literally shut things down in parts of the UK. I mean, literally shutting down subway systems, blocking people from going to work. I mean, because they wanted to make a statement. And the protests there got so large that the UK government has now, they declared, they're the first country to declare a climate emergency. Like, this is a big deal. I mean, it's huge. And more countries need to do that. The United States needs to do that. And a large part of this, why that happened in the UK is, okay, like their body of humans over there have expanded their consciousness enough that has impacted their government. Their government, they're kind of going something, something similar with us, with like, conservatives and progressives, and the energy and vibration is starting to shift over there. They're ahead of us, which is a great example, right? But Europe as a whole, like the youth, it started the youth, they're like, we're in a crisis, man. There's like, it's an emergency, and they're acting like it, and they're getting, stuff is happening over there. It's amazing. If you're on Twitter on Fridays, look for the hashtag Fridays for Future and hashtag climate strike. Like, and look at these protests, and it's really amazing. And the 16-year-old, her name is Greta, and I forget her her last name right now. But she's up for a Nobel Peace Prize right now, and I mean, she deserves it. I mean, it's amazing how the youth in Europe have like uprised. But again, it's a great example of like how the consciousness of the youth over there is like, we got to do something. We have, and drastic. We have to do something drastic because it's bad. We're in a just major crisis right now, and we need all hands on deck. And so that's kind of why I'm part of my motive in doing this video. Because also I keep getting called to do it. Like when I meditate during the day, like something inside me is like, can you please do this video? Like, tell people. We do. We need all hands on deck. Mainly right now too, to help expand the consciousness of the collective. Like on a subconscious level, I know people understand that we're all one, that we're all connected. But then when the subject of politics gets involved, right? And a great example is when we see the news and mainstream media. They quickly devolve, it quickly nosedives into fear, divisiveness, hatred, like all the low vibrational things. But think about it. If you're a light worker that came here to help expand consciousness, what better field to go work in than in the political arena right now? I mean, talk about like the lowest vibration that is here, that needs the most help. It needs the most light right now, because again, we have under 12 years. And at some point, we in the spiritual, light worker world need to listen to the scientists and see what the data is. And like, because it's bad. I mean, I'm not coming from a place of fear or being alarmist here. Like, if you just look at the data, it is alarming. And I mean, we have to do something. And like I mentioned before, we have all the equipment. We have all the money, the resources. We can do this right now. What we don't have is that expanded consciousness of the masses. And we need that. We need millions and millions of people to get involved in the political process, to demand change, demand that our government officials make climate change, climate action a priority, that make, our environment and ecological systems a priority, and that in 2020 we elect new, representatives and senators and mayors and governors, like all these officials. We need to elect political leaders who have expanded consciousness, right? And realize what's happening. So also, that's another one. If you're a light worker who's been thinking of running for office, like, do it. Go for it, because we need light workers. We need light workers in all levels of government. I mean, right now in the presidential race, we've got Bernie Sanders and Marianne Williamson. We have two, which is great, and again, that's a big reason I support Bernie Sanders. He operates from his higher self. He has expanded consciousness, which is why he's always been ahead of his time. And society has finally caught up with him, because our consciousness as a collective has expanded. And that deals more with, because of the youth coming in, right? All the millennials and Gen Z, I mean, they're coming in with a bigger, more expanded consciousness than, we olders, right? Like, I'm Gen X, the boomers and stuff. They're coming in, and they're really saying, like, oh man, this is jacked up. Our futures are on the line. We've got to do something. Change has got to happen. And I think that's a big reason that why Bernie Sanders has such a large following with the under 45s, because his vibration is the same level of their vibration, right? They get him. Like, they get him and he gets them, right? They get him and he gets them. I mean, they get each other because they're on the same frequency. They're on the same page. And other candidates don't resonate with them because, they see past the illusion, right? They know the truth. They see what's going on, right? And they know that Bernie through and through is 100% authentic. He is for real. He's unbought. His whole focus is on the higher good of all. And that's what he wants to do as president, is transform the system so it works for the many, not just the few. And we're going to need that same kind of consciousness when looking at taking care of the planet. Because here's the thing, and I went through this myself, like, all the meditating and yoga and spiritual growth is all great, but if we don't literally have a planet to live on, what good is all of that? Like, the planet in our lifetime, okay, we're looking at 10 years, 10, 12 years. I mean, under 12 years right now, okay? So not even imagining what 20 or 30 years is going to be like if we don't all come together. And again, expanding the consciousness, elevating the vibration is very important right now. And that is, we're in dire need in the political system right now. I mean, dire need. So that's why I'm just kind of calling out and just kind of pointing out, getting people thinking. And again, if you're watching this video, like, part of your higher self already knows this, or you've already probably started getting those messages, like, I need you to get involved in the political process. I need you to get involved. I'm here to tell you, like, you need to get involved. We need all hands on deck, okay? It's crucial and important right now, because the 2020 election is going to be a very crucial point in humanity's timeline. Who we elect president, and the Congress is going to be very, very crucial in humanity's timeline in relationship to climate change and the ecological collapse, which I believe is Mother Earth's clarion call to all of us. Like, immediate action now. The universe is giving us a choice, right? Do we choose to take the planet in a higher direction so all life on this earth can continue to thrive and sustain into future generations? Or are we going to continue to stay in this 3D low vibration and stay on a path that is not good? It's just, I don't have better words for it right now, but it's just not good. and that's something that we're being given a choice to make right now. Is, do we continue to choose to focus on like earthly 3D things and focus on the divisiveness and the hate and the anger? And this president is really showing us what it is that we need to heal and what needs to be fixed. I mean, that's why, like, after a while, like, he doesn't, he doesn't bother me anymore. Like, he doesn't get under my skin like he used to, because I see him for what he is. He's a reflection. He is America's pain body in the White House. And he is showing us what like the deep wounds, the deep heals, like the dark parts, the things that, we don't like about ourselves, right? He's showing that mirror to us in real time. And so when we as a collective start to realize this and don't send him, all that energy his way, then his time ends. But right now, he's fueling that. Right? He is bringing all this stuff to the surface. He is fueling hate. He is fueling divisiveness. And, maybe that's something else we need to talk about. Like, maybe as a collective, too many of us are addicted to that drama. We fuel on that to feel alive somehow, instead of channeling that energy and focusing in other areas where we could feel really alive by, like, helping to create a sustainable planet and a future. So, future generations actually have a future on this planet. Because right now, it's not, like, again, look at the scientists, what they're saying. I mean, this is a point where the spiritual community needs to be working with the scientific community. And really, what a beautiful combination, right? It's not something we often see, but needs to happen right now, okay? That's one reason why I've decided to step it up. Like, I've said this on Twitter many times. Like, I don't like doing video. I don't like being on camera. It makes me uncomfortable, but I'm doing it because I've been called to do it. And so I'm doing it for the higher good. And I know I'll get better at it. But, this is an area where I've challenged myself, to grow and evolve. And so I'm calling that out for the rest of you. Like, what are you doing to expand and evolve yourself, right? Where you're stepping out, where it's uncomfortable, but it's for the higher good of all. And it's something that you will grow as a person, but it is contributing to that work, that purpose you came here to fulfill, right? That I'm doing something that is improving the work right now. Because, like, for me personally, I'll just share, I feel like my soul mission right now, and that's soul, O-S-L-E, singular, and S-O-U-L, soul, mission right now is to help Bernie Sanders get elected to become president. So the timeline of humanity goes into a much more positive direction, that we can make things happen, so the future is much brighter for us. And Mother Gaia is on his side. I mean, I've seen so many examples. We all know the bird in Portland, and then I shared with you guys the big halo rainbow. In fact, I will end with that. The big halo rainbow that I saw in San Francisco at the Bernie rally there. I mean, I just, like, I felt this jolt of energy come through me when I was looking at it, and he said, I think we're going to win California. Which would be a huge win, but we're at a very important point in the timeline, and I'm calling you. We need all hands on deck, okay? So my fellow spiritual people, if this resonates with you in any way, please leave me comments or send me messages, because I would love to hear from you. If you have questions, I'm here. That's my role right now. I'm here to help. But we need all hands on deck.
Incredible crowds that we saw in San Diego and Los Angeles and here today. I think we're going to win, California.